What is this eclipse? The upcoming total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024 has garnered global attention.
More schools across North Texas are planning to, go dark for the eclipse. Corsicana ISD has now canceled classes for April 8th. The Ennis, Kaufman, and Waxahachie districts have all already announced that they'll close that day.
Yeah, I'll be thinking this shit cool. Like, boy, look at that. Boy, that shit fire. Yeah, that shit fire. That's exactly what they playing with. Fire. Wait till these motherfuckers start hanging your ass.
Unknowns, not knowing how many people are coming, we could exhaust our resources really quick.
We are counting down to the total eclipse, now less than a month away. Kendall County, the latest to issue a disaster declaration ahead of next month's total eclipse. At least 3 other counties in central Texas, along with the Hill Country, that are in the path of totality have already issued disaster declarations. They include Bell County, Travis County, and Kirk County. While we are familiar with what a disaster declaration means for wildfires or maybe even severe weather, what do they mean when it comes to an eclipse? News 4 San Antonio's Stephanie Esquivel is getting answers tonight from local officials.
Issuing a disaster declaration ahead of next month's eclipse is a proactive measure Kendall County officials are taking to ensure enough resources are available in case of an emergency.
We're not going to be able to rely on our regular mutual aid partners because they're coming from counties that are experiencing the same issues we are. So it just gives us a little bit better avenue to reach out for the state for additional resources or supplies or things like that should we need them.
Why has Homeland Security been preparing to hijack this biblical event?
The sheriff called me yesterday, and after he got done telling me everything inside this meeting that was happening, I pretty much was nerve-rattled after what I heard. Who's this meeting with? It's with Homeland Security.
Who's this meeting with? It's with Homeland Security.
People want to do us harm. Use an event like this where a lot of people are gathered to do some type of terror event.
The director of the Lake County Emergency Management Agency told me they've been preparing for the solar eclipse now for about 2 years.
They've been preparing for this for 2 years. Imagine that, for 2 years. He said, during the solar eclipse, while people are all out there looking, they're planning, the intel that they've got is a possible biological attack on people while the solar eclipse is freaking happening.
Like, here's from Kenton County Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Here's what you should do before. Ensure you have a full gas tank. Ensure you are stocked on groceries. Have alternative communications. For an eclipse that's going to last about an hour. And here's another one. Buy necessary groceries and gas. Expect heavy traffic and long lines for local services.
Oklahoma, the National Guard will have guardsmen present for the total solar eclipse on April 8th. Communication facilities could become overloaded, possibly making cell phone calls difficult. The 22 members of an elite chemical, biological, and radiological and nuclear unit will be housed in Broken Bow, in addition to up to 110 to 150 Oklahoma Highway Patrol troopers. There will be about 150 other first responders and volunteers, with many staying at either the sports complex in Broken Bow or in Idabel.
New at 6, a swarm of earthquakes continues to shake parts of the South Bay. At least 39 quakes have rattled an area near Hollister since Sunday. The biggest quake happened yesterday with a magnitude 4.2. Meanwhile, a new study says there might be a link between earthquakes, the moon, and sun.
Solar eclipse on April 8th is becoming a major event. The National Guard is being deployed, and the people are being advised to have 2 weeks of food and to fill their fuel tanks. This could all be explained due to the fact that tens of thousands of visitors are expected along the path of totality. But many people believe that they could be preparing for possible earthquakes due to the Devil Comet aligning with the April 8th eclipse, and due to the fact that in 1811, a comet also appeared in the skies during a solar eclipse on the same path and was followed by the biggest earthquakes in American history.
A major earthquake has struck off the coast of southwestern Japan. It's a magnitude 7.5.
All right, just want to bring you an update on the earthquake near Taiwan. 7.5 magnitude earthquake. It happened at 21 kilometers southeast of Hualien City in Taiwan. This is according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Very strong shaking at magnitude of that strength. That was felt widely in the Taiwanese capital, Taipei. Now, a tsunami warning has also been issued for a number of those small Japanese islands that you see there just to the northeast of Taiwan. Also, a tsunami warning for Japan's Okinawa prefecture. Local residents told to evacuate, and tsunami waves as high as 3 meters being potentially forecast.
Known as the New Madrid earthquakes, around 10,000 earthquakes occurred in just 3 months' time, the biggest being measured at 8.8 magnitude. They were the most devastating series of earthquakes in recorded history. This eclipse season is, however, a very rare event. The recent eclipses in August of 2017 and October of 2023, along with the upcoming one on April 8th, forms an Aleph and a Tav over the United States. The Aleph and Tav are the first and last letters of the Hebrew alphabet, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. These eclipses mark the end of the Great Year, a 26,000-year period that starts anew with the dawning of Aquarius and a new golden age. Manly P. Hall wrote that high-level Masons designed America for a peculiar and particular purpose, a secret destiny to bring about a new Atlantis, or a new world order, wherein a king descended of a divine race will rule over all. In rituals, this king is symbolized as Apollo, Horus, or Nimrod, the father of Freemasonry, and is thought to be a descendant of the biblical Nephilim, or the Sumerian Anunnaki. According to Thomas Horn, this will happen in 2025, which corresponds to several documents published by intelligence agencies, such as Global Governance 2025, Global Trends 2025, and the 2025 Deagle Forecast on World Population. NASA is notorious for performing Masonic rituals based on the Egyptian mystery schools. Apollo being the same character as Horus, Sirius representing Isis, and Atlantis being the new golden age they hope to restore. And during the eclipse on April 8th, NASA will fire 3 rockets named after Apep, the Egyptian serpent god, whose goal was to devour Ra, the sun. And when the sun reemerges after 3 minutes of darkness, it will be likened to the rebirth of Horus, their new king of the Golden Age. CERN, known for practicing occult rituals at a statue of Shiva, the Hindu god who symbolizes death, destruction, and the end of an age, will be firing up their Large Hadron Collider to full power during the solar eclipse. And Israel, who is in the midst of committing genocide, is preparing to sacrifice a red heifer, a ritual sacrifice to prepare them for taking back the Temple Mount.
Red heifers, to be precise. Some Jews and Christians believe they're the key to rebuilding the historic Jewish temple in Jerusalem and to beckoning the Messiah. To understand, you have to go back nearly 2,000 years when the ancient Romans destroyed the last temple in the city. To rebuild it, these believers point to the Bible's book of Numbers. It commands the Israelites to sacrifice a red heifer without defect or blemish, and that has never been under a yoke. Only then can the temple rise again. Those sacred cows were showcased in Washington at a recent prayer gathering. Many evangelicals believe these red heifers will usher Christ's second coming.
And we need the Messiah to come, right? So for me, the red heifer is red for the blood of Jesus Christ.
A massive altar already awaits where the heifers are to be burned. According to some believers, the ceremony needs to be performed right here on the Mount of Olives, looking directly into where the temple once stood. But something else now stands in its place.
Once they forcibly take the Temple Mount away from billions of Muslims worldwide, it will predictably thrust the world into the peak of chaos that these secret societies have been designing for centuries. And their plan is to bring order out of this chaos, with their divine king to rule over the world. But these are just rituals, and fear is an illusion. We can always choose love.
Something more supernatural on the drawing board at CERN than what is being admitted. Even Adam Barker of Tech Bubble wrote of CERN a while back that with the LHC, CERN are expecting to find other dimensions and open portals to these dimensions. If you have the image of Stargate in your head right now, you're spot on. That's what he said. And then he went on to draw parallels to the biblical story of Jacob's ladder. Perhaps you remember the dream that says, "Behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it." Then Jacob wakes up from his sleep and he says, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." And he was afraid. And he says, "How awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven," Genesis 28. Now this ladder, described in the first book of the Bible, describes something like a portal from heaven to earth through which God's angels, interdimensional and spiritual beings from another reality, were traveling. When Jacob wakes up, he refers to the location as a gate, much like today's trendy terms gateway or Stargate. One of CERN's goals is to recreate Jacob's ladder, according to Barker.
I use the Hebrew calendar, okay? On the Hebrew calendar, April 8th is the last day of the year. The new moon of Aries is the first month of the year, actually. People think Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year, but actually the first month in the calendar is Aries, Nisan, and that's on April 8th. So for them, it's their chance to inject the energy they want for the new year. If you look at a bunch of astrologers across different fields of astrology, they're all saying the energy is shifting. So the globalists, obviously, they want to make a big push for evil, negative energy in the new year. What do? Destabilize, make people afraid, and because April 8th is this day they're freaking out about. It's the last day of the year. That's the day that you can inject energy for the new year. They want to, like, if you look at it, all the NFL drafts, the NBA drafts, they're usually on the new moon or the full moon of various months in the Hebrew calendar. So these high-level people, they know what they're doing. They use these dates. If you look at a bunch of astrologers across different fields of astrology, they're all saying the energy is shifting. So the globalists, obviously, they want to make a big push for evil, negative energy in the new year.
So the globalists, obviously, they want to make a big push for evil, negative energy in the new year.
Reopen a portal. Now, Sergio Bertolucci, who is the official director for research and scientific computing at CERN, he was asked a while back about this extra-dimensional doorway by The Register, which is a London and New York operated science and technology journal. And he didn't hesitate with an enlightening response. He said, yes, out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. Now, prophecy in numerous parts of the Bible refer to a coming day when portals will be opened and spiritual entities are going to pass through and come to the earth. Now, if that's true, and if those verses are accepted for their literal meaning and not written off as some kind of poetic allegory, as some scholars have claimed, then the idea of CERN playing with gateways is a major concern.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
And if, as CERN claims, they're only out to explore space-time matter, particles, and the origin of our known universe and planets from exclusively a scientific or Darwinian-related perspective, if their agenda is unrelated to Bible prophecy entirely, then what is it with all this mystical symbolism that they knowingly are associating themselves with? Wouldn't it be more appropriate for them just to proudly display a polished statue of a particle or some artist depiction of the Big Bang instead of the statue of Shiva? For those who have not yet heard about this controversial piece of art that CERN proudly exhibits between buildings 39 and 40 near the main building of their operation, it stands as really the most visible and celebrated imagery behind their work, Shiva. This is the Hindu god of destruction. In 2004, the government of India, which has had a long-standing friendship with leaders behind the CERN project even before the completion of the Large Hadron Collider, they gifted CERN with this bronze work of an art depicting Shiva as Nataraja, the lord or sometimes king of the dance. This dance that Shiva performs in the sculpture is the one that provides the source of the creation cycle in Hindu mythology, the preservation of all life in existence and the termination of all life in existence. The Rudra Tandava is a dance that especially displays Shiva's sadistic personality as he rains down the ultimate destruction upon a weary planet. The plaque at the side beside the statue, however, reads in part, hundreds of years ago, Indian artists created visual images of dancing Shivas in a beautiful series of bronzes. In our time, physicists have used the most advanced technology to portray the patterns of the cosmic dance. The metaphor of the cosmic dance thus unifies ancient mythology, religious art, and modern physics. So right there out in the open for all to see is a direct correlation between the Hindu perception of Shiva hundreds of years ago, which is the concept of destroyer that I explained a moment ago, and our time, unifying, quote, ancient mythology, religious art, and modern physics.
Destabilize, make people afraid, because that's what they want to push into the new year. So any kind of crisis or fear they want people to have on April 8th, it's because they all have powerful energy. And so for the globalists, they know they want to inject the seed of every new year with negativity, because that's what they harvest. They want to take all of our energy, so they have to implant us with any kind of negativity they can. So absolutely, they are very aware of the astrology. You know, in the newspapers, they put nonsense horoscopes to make it look like childish or foolish to people. But then at the very highest levels, they know exactly what this stuff is used for. Okay, let me reference John Dutoit. I don't know if you know him. You should. He's the director of Hoaxed, great documentary. He went and filmed you. He's a total genius too, and he said that this year, talking about 2024, not the Hebrew calendar like I am, but this guy senses the energy, he reads the signs, and he said, like, this year is a year for karma, and I see all the signs of it. I see it too. The karmic debt is coming due for so many people. This can be a great year of revelation, of great change, of great things happening. I'm seeing it in so many different ways, so they're afraid of this for sure, because if everybody sees who they are, everybody's going to want to, let's say, lock them up. Let's be nice. Everyone's going to want to lock them up at the very least. So they're definitely afraid of this, and we should all be very happy and very positive.
Like Jonah, despite our reluctance, we all must be prepared for repentance, even the repentance of our oppressors. We must also be prepared to respond to whatever the New World Order has
up its sleeve. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light.
I form the light and create darkness. I bring prosperity and create disaster. I, the Lord, do all these things. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. What is this eclipse? The upcoming total solar eclipse on April 8, 2024, has garnered global attention. This rare phenomenon can be observed from North and Central America and has sparked enthusiasm among astronomy enthusiasts and the public. Social media, news outlets, and scientific websites are abuzz with information, predictions, and tips for viewing this upcoming spectacle. But what is an eclipse? A solar eclipse is a natural phenomenon that occurs when the moon passes between the sun and Earth, causing a complete or partial blockage of the sun's light. The entire event typically lasts up to 3 hours, from start to finish. However, during this eclipse, the duration of complete blockage of the sun from any given location along the path will be about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. The word eclipse comes from the Latin word eclipsis, which in turn is derived from the Greek word eklipsis. The Greek word means an abandonment, or more literally, a failing or forsaking. The word eclipsis is a combination of two words, ek, meaning out or away, and lipine, meaning to leave behind or fail to appear. During a solar eclipse, the sun does not actually abandon or forsake us. Rather, we find ourselves in the shadow of the moon, which causes the darkness. Did you know that the Earth is not the only planet that experiences total solar eclipses? However, it is the only planet in our solar system that allows such an event to be seen from its surface. Mercury and Venus do not have any moons, so they do not experience eclipses. Mars has 2 small moons that cannot obscure the sun, while the gas giant planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune have large enough moons, but their gaseous nature makes it impossible to stand on their surface and witness a total solar eclipse. Hence, the Earth is the only planet in our solar system that provides the best opportunity to observe a total solar eclipse. In ancient times, many cultures believed that solar eclipses occurred due to the sun or the moon being devoured by animals or demons. According to Chinese folklore, a black dog or dragon eats the sun during an eclipse, while in Vietnam, a giant frog does the devouring. In some religious cultures, an eclipse is associated with an impending apocalypse, either literally or symbolically. The creation of lights. Rabbinic Judaism interprets Genesis chapter 1 verse 14 to mean that celestial events are signs from God. Then God said, "Let there be light bearers, sun, moon, stars, in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be useful for signs, tokens of God's provident care, and for marking seasons, days, and years. And let them be useful as lights in the expanse of the heavens, to provide light on the earth." And it was so, just as he commanded. God made the 2 great lights, the greater light, the sun, to rule the day, and the lesser light, the moon, to rule the night. He made the galaxies of stars also, that is, all the amazing wonders in the heavens. God placed them in the expanse of the heavens to provide light upon the earth, to rule over the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good, and he affirmed and sustained it. And there was evening and there was morning, a 4th day. Genesis chapter 1 verses 14 through 19. According to this interpretation, the sun, moon, and stars were created on the 4th day as light bearers, and to help establish a calendar. God created the sun and the moon to be lights in the sky that would serve as signs and seasons. From ancient times, human beings have relied on these celestial bodies to measure time and direction. God knew the exact distance to set the sun from the earth. If it were a few million miles closer or farther, life as we know it would be impossible.
Life as we know it would be impossible.
Additionally, and perhaps even more important, there's a significant section of CERN that is built upon the St. Genus Poili, which is a commune in Ain, a department of France. In Roman times, the St. Genus Poili was called Apaliacum, but the town and a temple were dedicated there in ancient times to Apollyon, the destroyer, the Shiva Horus, if you will. Apollyon is also the angel of the bottomless pit, referred to in Revelation 9:11. And then there is a connection between CERN and the Gothard Base Tunnel, the GBT, which is the world's deepest and longest tunnel system, consisting of two parallel passages, each moving in a single direction on a single track. The GBT passes directly beneath St. Gothard's Pass, a strategic north-south corridor that connects northern and southern Switzerland. The connection to the Large Hadron Collider has to be made primarily because of the bizarre opening ceremony that was live streamed to the entire world on June 1, 2016, that included this highly occult, demonic dance with characterization, beginning with a call to unite the religions of the world by conducting an interfaith blessing of the tunnel beside a statue of St. Barbara, the patron saint of miners. Following the blessing at the statue of St. Barbara, the press, along with visiting dignitaries, also paid tribute to the 9 miners who had lost their lives during construction of the tunnel. Bodillo's southern portal provided the visiting dignitaries a disturbing parade, really, of miners, erotic dancers, zombies, fallen angels, all of whom were obeying the call of what they called the shepherd, whose yodels invoked the appearance of the event's infernal master of ceremonies, a goat man, portrayed by a young and energetic dancing male. This creature is shown with a Baphomet headdress, a goat demon's head, if you will, and a goat body costume with a hairy pelt. And then it had a formal tuxedo over the top, and always with his tongue extended. Now, this tongue-out pose seems to be popular with ancient gods, whether they're Mayan, Hindu, Babylonian, Egyptian, Greek, or even British. For some reason, the coat of arms from the Prince of Wales supports both a lion and a unicorn with their tongues extended, for instance. More than likely, this tongue position represents sex magic, fornicating with fallen angels.
More schools across North Texas are planning to, go dark for the eclipse. Corsicana ISD has now canceled classes for April 8th. The Ennis, Kaufman, and Waxahachie districts have all already announced that they'll close that day.
Ancient symbol of the horned god, referenced by Maureen Bruce in the quote that I made a moment ago, it allows us to connect our goat demon from the opening ceremony at the GBT to CERN. Despite the fact that the Large Hadron Collider sits 3 to 4 hours down a twisty road from the location, the horn god's circular logic and passion for human depravity, Hernunos, as is sometimes called, or Cernunnos, or the Green Man of British lore, simply had to make an appearance at this occult ceremony. Josh Peck and I, and many other researchers, have written extensively regarding the in-game plans for tunneling beneath the earth and smashing atoms to smithereens as nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to open portals. But the opening ceremony at Gothard made it clear that these portals are intended to do something else, and that is to release demonic entities. The twin tunnels of the Gothard Base Tunnel commence with twin portals on a single track. These northward and southward journeys symbolize the death, birth, death cycle of the green man who dies in the fall and winter and rises in the spring, summer. The tunnel ceremony was all about sex rights and rebirth, leading to a new world order that's a complete reversal of the Judeo-Christian design. This included the triple goddess and the horned god, along with human sacrifice and a return to pagan worship, all of which lie at the center of this nauseating ritual play, which you can probably still watch on YouTube. Dancers dressed as miners climbed this rock face and they dug into the earth, so to speak, to unveil what was beneath the earth, a great machine formed from human arms that rotated and churned into various shapes and design, many of which resembled the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. Once this opening was achieved, the miners stripped off their orange jumpsuit attire and took up arms. That is, they used staves to perform a dance routine that looked like warfare. It was this forensic dance that aroused a giant. So clearly, the endeavor connected to CERN is far more than Switzerland's braggadocio about an engineering feat. The connection between CERN and ritualistic summoning of a sleeping giant, the horned god of Cernunnos, or even Melkart, both are types of the rising, dying god. And Melkart slept for half the year, which may be why Elijah told the priests of Baal to call louder, because he might be sleeping. Of course, I can only speculate, but I note the connection between Nimrod, Apollo, and Abaddon, Apollyon at CERN, and the history of the region are all highly curious. Apollo was worshipped by the Romans of that area, as well as the Greeks and in central France. Apollo was equated with the Celtic god Atep Omerus. These two characters were combined to create Apollo Atep Omerus, which can be translated as great horseman or possessing a great horse. In the Celtic belief, horses were closely related to the sun. The interesting thing to note is the connection between this idea of Apollo being associated with horses in France, where part of the LHC and CERN resides, and what the book of Revelation states about Abaddon, where it says, "And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon," end quote. I also note that Revelation chapter 9, after describing how these devil worshippers will be judged during the Great Tribulation period, it ends in verse 21 saying, "Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries," which is the Greek pharmakia, "nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts." Now, pharmakia is the word that describes the ancient occultic effort to use mind-expanding drugs during rituals in order to open a doorway for making contact with unseen supernatural entities. So, given these descriptions, is it possible that CERN will have something to do with the opening of the bottomless pit described in Revelation 9?
Everybody swear that this shit is cool until you see them with guns in your face giving you orders to follow. Y'all be thinking this shit cool, like, boy, look at that, boy, that shit fire. Yeah, that shit fire. That's exactly what they playing with. Fire. Wait till these motherfuckers start hunting your ass. Wait till these motherfuckers get orders to assassinate the people. This is what they got in store for us. we sitting back planning our takeover. They sitting back planning they goddamn defense, and they got these right here ready for your ass. Imagine trying to outrun one of these. They never get tired. Only thing they do is seek and destroy. Find the target and terminate it.
If you can program a robot to do this, what else can you all make them do, Sheed? This shit done got out of control. I mean, is you all seeing this shit? Now imagine that they was programmed to find you and assassinate your ass. All I know is you all better get your ass prepared for war against the Terminators.